planner.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'direi Torah. And welcome. Thanks, Judith. I'm going to go right into the share, and I'm going to be trying to do a lot of illustrating today. Let's see what I can do.
I just want to mention,
Yes.
I looked up the word Choshen in my dictionary, and he said that the origin is obscure, but it might be related to the Arabic word Husn, which means beautiful, and from which the name Hussein, I'm pretty sure the name Hussein comes from that too.
Yes, interesting. Oh, okay. Well, obscure is another way of saying I can't find a good explanation. So I get it. And by the way, we encounter now names of things, and names of things like names of animals, names of plants, names of birds. I mean, or fish. You just have.
Hi, she's calmer now. She's
mute.
I got her some hot water in a glass, and then she saw me making these things, and I told her, and she said, "Well,
Somebody needs to mute."
Yeah. Okay, thanks. So sorry. Okay. I'm just saying that when it comes to names of things, it's very difficult. And the Talmud very often tries very hard because they're obviously a lot closer to these traditions than we are. And so they very often will try and describe these things and give alternate names for these things that maybe are more current, etc. So, but it is a totally separate kind of challenge to identify these things. So we are talking now about the Choshen, the breast piece. And here we go. Umileta vo miluat even. So clearly you see here the comparison, right? And the similarity, umileta miluat. By the way, in the Torah, they look almost the same except for the vav. So again, we have a tradition that this is the verb and this is the noun. So essentially what it's saying is, you shall fill it. Lemalot is to fill something, and miluat even means settings of stone. Settings of stone. So bo in it, in other words, in the Choshen, settings of stone, arba'a turim avin, 4 rows of stone. And now we go into the names of these stones. Tur, okay, so we have a row of odem, pitda, uvareket. So again, we just have to, I wrote up the translations of these words because how do you figure what it means? Now, odem looks like it's related to the word adom, which might mean a ruby, but none of these stones, none of the translations came up with ruby. So they have a stone carnelian, and what I plan to do now is to try to show you, so carnelian, chrysolite, and emerald, and I wanted to show you what that sort of looks like, if I may. So let's go here and find where we are. Forgive me. I'm going to have to, give me a moment, I'm going to have to do something to find it easily. Okay, here we are, and I'm going to share again now and hopefully find it on my share screen. There we are. Let's try this now. Here we are. So here are, first of all, just an overall picture of it. I'm going to try to open that up for you. It's very small, as you can see. It's not a really large picture. And he tries to identify, and he gives different names. Notice that? Different names for some of these things. But I'm going to close this and open up a different one now. Let's see here. I'm going to have to do this. Now it's not opening up. Forgive me. Let's try this again. The mysteries of the. There we are. Good. So here's a carnelian. This is what a carnelian looks like. Try and get a little bit bigger a picture for you. It's not that much bigger. Well, it's not too pixelated. That's a carnelian.
So mine is not showing the bigger picture.
All right. Okay, so it doesn't do that. Okay, that's because it was opening up in. Give me a second.
Don't worry, because it's a fairly clear picture.
Right. Okay, so there's a carnelian. This is a chrysolite. Look at that. And of course, I'm sure you're pretty familiar with turquoises. So let me see. I might actually be able to increase the size. Let's see here. Maybe not. Oh, there we go. That looks like it's increasing the size. Second here. Let's see what I can do here. Just trying to play around with this. All right. So we'll go to the next one. So let me go back and give you a better view then. Then let me go back here. Sorry, let's go. Trying to see what I can do. Okay. The next, right, Hatur Ha'echad, the one row. Let's see if there's any Rashi on this at all. There may not. Oh, there it is. Here we are. Here's the Rashi. Umileta bo, you shall fill it, right? Al shem shaha'avanim mimalot gumot hamishpatzot. It's called, we use this verb, he says, because the stones fill in the indentations of the little frames, hamitukanot lahem, which were prepared for them. Kore otam belashon miluim. For this reason, they use the term miluim for them. Now, the word miluim is used sometimes for other issues too. Like we talk about miluim, I believe, in the army. Shira Beth, correct me if I'm incorrect. And basically, miluim has to do with having to serve in the army. The amount of time you have to serve in the army. So again, it's filling in is basically what this has to do with. And I believe, I may be wrong, but somehow I'm thinking that we might even refer it to the induction of Aaron and his sons into the priesthood, that in that sense, that's also miluim. So fitting in a broad sense. So that's Rashi on that particular, but Rashi doesn't try to translate or explain what these stones are or their significance. And some of you may be familiar that these stones are supposed to have some special properties. Okay. Let's see where we are here. Okay. Right. Okay. I'm sorry. So Vareket is emerald. I didn't get a picture of an emerald because I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with that. Hatura Sheni Nofech, a turquoise. You know how you get turquoise from Nofech, right? It's a whole challenge, and I'm sure they've looked in the Talmud and rabbinic sources to see if they can find what these stones might be. Now, this sounds a lot like it, right? Saphir sounds like sapphire, right? The Yahalom is an amethyst. So I think I've heard other translations for the word Yahalom, but at any rate, that's what they have here. Let me see what I can do here. Okay, sorry. Let's go in here and see if I can find it again here. Sorry, there we go. So that's the turquoise and the sapphire. Beautiful. Look at that. And the amethyst. So, I'm sure some of you know that, excuse me one second. That they actually come in very different colors, that they can come in different colors. And when I was looking at the website where these stones were, they come in different colors. Please, could you mute? Whoever is unmuted, just check and make sure you're muted. All right. We'll go back to the text again. And here we are. Let's go in there. Second. All right. And then so that's the second row. V'hatur hashlishi, the third row is leshem, translated as jacinth, shavo, v'achlama, agate and a crystal. And again, I'll go and see what I can do to share this. Let's see where they are. Try that. So here we are. That's jacinth, an agate, and crystal, which of course comes in all kinds of colors. Just wanting to give you some sense of this, and then we'll try and get back to, okay, let's get to here. Okay. And finally, V'hatur haravi'i, the fourth row, Tarshish, the Shoham, the Yashpe. So again, Yashpe sounds like jasper, right? Tarshish, beryl, Shoham, lapis lazuli. I have no idea how they do this. I believe we found the word Shoham early in Genesis as well. And again, just describing them as mishubatzim. They're squared around zahav with gold, in other words, or gold settings, iyu b'milu otam. They should be when you fill them into the settings. And I think
Rabbi, I looked up nothet in
yes.
Google Translate after I had done etymology for turquoise, but Google Translate put garnet.
As I said, it's so hard to, translate these words. And you can spend a lot of time trying to do the translation. So might be interesting at some point, though, to see what the origins are of how they get these translations. And of course, we also have the Aramaic. I didn't look up the Aramaic translation, right? So Evan Tava looks like it could be that Evan means precious stones. And here we go. Samkan. This sounds like a color. Yarkan, right? Uvar.
Also, yeah.
So
like they're all colors. But we had Shoham before.
Yes, and
they called it onyx before, because that was the shoulder pieces. So is it onyx? Is it lapis? Who knows? Who knows?
Here is a word that I've seen. Here he says Izmaragdim, right? That's another name, and I thought that was like, I don't know if that's another like a German word for diamond. I'm not sure. So, but look at these different. He's tried to translate this here, right here. Yeah, I see Ein Egla. So literally it means the eye of a calf. So, yeah. Just really, I'm just introducing you to these complicated ways of trying to understand this. And here he translates Tarshish as Krum Yama, which I don't know if that means the surface of the sea, something like that. And Burla sounds a lot like beryl. Janet, did you want to make a point?
I was wondering, instead of trying to translate what the actual stones are, you're seeing because stones have many colors.
That's right. That's right.
Maybe they're just trying to do the color, and that's why you have different meanings for the stone on the shoulders, which is one color, versus that same stone in another location, which is another color.
Right. Hard to say. And I mean, yeah, I'll show you the pictures that I have of these particular stones. Let's take a look here. Let me see if I can find it. Here we are. So here is a beryl. And in this case, I wanted you to see all the different colors that beryl can appear in. This is lapis. And that would be interesting if, in fact, it's not onyx. I think is pretty much black. Okay, and here's jasper. And let's see if I have there's the picture of it. And here, okay, let's see if I can get a better picture of this for you here. Let's see.
Onyx can come in various colors.
Okay.
I've seen green and cream and
yes.
Charcoal gray and
yeah, I guess it just has to do with what, oops, sorry. Here we are. Let's try to get this a little larger for you. See if there's some way I can do that. This is not allowing me to get any larger.
oh, maybe they're just colored, because maybe you're right, it looks like it's mostly black and white. Maybe they just color the white ones.
Right. Okay, so how do we identify which stones have to do with which tribes? The next sentence or two tells you exactly what it does and how they line up. So let me go back into the text. So here we are. For ha'avanim tiyena al shmot b'nei Yisrael, and the stones shall be by the names, right, of the children of Israel. The son, in this case, it means sons of Israel. Lauren, what you had said before, right? The actual sons. Shteim Esrei al shmotam, 12 according to their names. Pituchei chotam, engraved like a signet ring. We discussed that before. We were discussing the Choshen just incidentally, and we understand that what it means is it's carved out of the stone, carved into the stone. Ish al shmo, each person by his name. Tiena lishnei asar, and we've just got one more word, shevet, according to the 12 tribes. So we don't have Ephraim and Manasseh. They are combined into Joseph. Here we go. Verse 20. Is it Mishuvatzim? Let me make sure that see where it is. Yeah, Mishuvatzim. There is the word. Mishuvatzim Zahav. In frames of gold, or framed by gold, because it sounds like it could be a noun, it could be that is a present participle. That's meshubatzim. Iyu haturim b'milu otam. Okay, that these rows, as they're filled in, mukafim mishpatzot zahav, they should be surrounded by squares, frames of gold, but omek, in the depth, shiur, by the amount of depth, sheyit maleh ba'ovi ha'evan, with which it is filled by the thickness of the stone. In other words, it's sounding like the depth of the frame and the width of the stone, the depth of the stone are identical. You'll see. Zehu lashon b'milu otam. This is how we understand the term b'milu otam in there as they are set, or they are filled in. Kishiur milui ovyam. It means the same amount as their width. Shel avanim, of the stones. Yeh omek hamishibatzot, so should be the depth of these frames. Lo pachot velo yoter, not more, no less. So in other words, the stone would be flush with the sides of the frame, of the gold frame, it's telling us. I think we did the next, we did the next verse 21. So Rashi, Ish al Shmo, each person by his name. So he says, Keseder Toldotam. He says, according to the order of their birth. And we had the same thing with the two onyx stones, remember, on the shoulder pieces of the high priest, of the ephod. Seder ha'avanim odem lerove. So he starts to spell it out. Doesn't do the whole thing, but he gives us the gist of it and figures out that we can fill in the dots. The order of the stones. Odem, the odem is Reuve. That's going to be Reuben. Pitada l'shimon. So the pitada is, so the chrysolite, I guess it is, for Reuben. Pitada l'shimon. Pitada is for Simeon, Shimon, v'chein kulam, he says, and likewise all of them. So what would be interesting, though, is I didn't look up, I haven't researched what the symbolism of each stone is. I mean, they're supposed to have certain properties that cure a person, certain healing properties, etc., etc. But why a particular stone associated with a certain tribe? The best I can do with that right now on a very simplistic level is that there were colors associated with the tribe, and it could be that the colors of the stones were supposed to be the colors associated with the different tribes. Each tribe had its own color. But I'm sure there's more written about this. I wouldn't be surprised if you were to find a lot of detail in the Zohar about this, because it certainly seems like a very symbolic piece here and with quite all kinds of mystical properties. Va'asita al hachoshen, and now we're going to have a little bit of a repetition of what we had said before. Va'asita al hachoshen, you shall place on the breastpiece, right, or make on the breastpiece, sharshot gavlut ma'aseh ovot. There we go with it, right? So it doesn't say sharsheret, it just says sharshot gavlut. We know that, so sharshot, Rashi is still going to tell us, has to do with the chains that we had talked about before. And he mentioned gavlut, he says, is from a verb or from a noun, that gvul, which means border, right? In other words, that they're to hang at the border, ma'aseh ovot, made like a braid, right? Zahav tahor, of pure gold. So let's see what we find here. So he says, al hachoshen, on the breastpiece. He says we should understand on as meaning bishvil hachoshen, for the breastpiece. Lekavam betaba otav, okay, to set it, right, on its rings, kamoshe mefurash lamata ba'inyan. He says, as will be specified and detailed out below in discussing this matter. And how he talks about the word sharshot, lashon sharshe ilan. So he says that in this case, the word sharshot can come from the word shoresh, which means a root, like the root of a tree. Ha'me'achazin la'ilan lehe'achez or lehitakea ba'aretz. He says that the roots of the tree allow it to grip and be set in the earth. Af elu. So he says this is the reason for the word sharshot. He says these two iyu machezin lachoshen. These chains are there to hold tight, right? The choshen. Shebahem yeh talui, because through them the choshen is suspended by ephod, in the ephod, on the ephod. And I've shown you pictures before on how that works, and I'm happy to show you again if you need. But let's just keep going with the Rashi for now. Vehein shtei sharsharot. So here he goes. He says, and these are the two chains, ha'amurot lamala, which were mentioned above, be'inyan hamishpatzot, regarding these frames. Va'af sharsharot patar. So he says, Menachem ben Saruk. This is a commentary that Rashi refers to from time to time. So what Rashi wants to say is that the word sharshe is not the same word. I apologize. I think I said that he does look at it the same. He does not. So Rashi wants to make a point that the Torah is using the word sharshe for a different purpose than when it used the word sharsheret above. And sharsheret means the chain, and sharshe is referring to root. But here he says that Menachem ben Saruk also explained the word sharsheret as shorashim, that Menachem ben Saruk also wants to use the word shorashim, or understand the word shorashim, interpret it as meaning to root, to make sure it's held fast. The Amar, and to support his interpretation, Menachem says that haresh, that the resh of sharsheret, right? That second resh of sharsheret. Here's the second resh, right? The yetera. It's simply it's there. It's not really necessary. It's just there to pronounce it better, something like that. But it has no implication for its root. And he says, "Kamo mem she beshil shom." Right. So the word 3 days ago, the day before yesterday, from the word shalosh, meaning three. So you have the word shilshom. And he says, just like in the word shilshom, the mem is just there for the sound of the language. It's not there for any other purpose. And he gives another example, mem she berekam. Rekam means from rake, meaning empty. And the mem there is just for the sake of the language or the sound of the language. And Rashi, so it's interesting. This is one of these cases, it doesn't happen all that much, where Rashi is giving his own personal opinion about this, right? And he says, "Ve'eni ro'eh et devarav." That's basically literally, he says, I do not see his words, meaning I don't agree with him. Ella sharsheret, he says, but rather the word sharsheret, b'lashon ivrit, in Hebrew, the word sharsheret is keshalshelet b'lashon mishnah. He says it's like the word shalshelet in rabbinic Hebrew. So there's biblical Hebrew, there's rabbinic Hebrew, and he says they're the identical words, and they mean a chain, something like that. Gavlut, right? So this is this word gavlut. He's explained it before, but he goes on to explain hu mi gavlut ha'amur lamala. This is the same gavlut that is mentioned above. Shetitak'em betabaot, that the choshen needs to be set in place through these rings. Sheyu bigvul hachoshen, that we're at the edge of the choshen. I think I'm going to try and show you an illustration to see if we can see the rings. V'chol gavul, and in any time you're talking about the word gavul, right, which is translated as border, lashon katzeh, it has to do with the edge of something. So a border obviously is the edge of land, and this is the French word assommé. Again, I'm unfamiliar with this at all, but in this medieval French, balaz. And this is the Yiddish that they put in here. It says a zois. It looks like zois, and I'm certainly not familiar. I tried to look it up both in Yiddish and in German and wasn't really successful. And I don't know if it has something to do with side, perhaps, etc. And then ma'aseh avot, in other words, braided work. Ma'aseh kliya. Kliya is a braid. Let's go back quick. It's 8 o'clock. Let me put in a marking here, just quickly. And sorry, let's do that. Just to put in where this is for tomorrow. And let me quickly see if I can put in a picture for you. Oh, okay. So this might be a good picture for you. See if it shows up. Oh, I guess it did. Let's see. Yeah, sorry, it's for some reason.
However, those stones are not flush with the thing, because if they were sticking out like that, they could catch on something, they could, crack, if you knock them by accident. Or
about the shoulder pieces.
no, these I thought were supposed to be.
They are. I think he's doing the best he can. I think
Yeah.
that unless there's another opinion. But look carefully here, and you see rings.
Mhm.
As I said, this must be the fact that he's got these pieces here, because from the way Rashi's describing it, it's sounding like it would be right on the, whether you can interpret it as being, right by when it says al hatabaot, whether it's referring to these little shoulder pieces here. So, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to stop the share now. And let's see. I think we have enough for a Kaddish D'Rabbanan, if you'd like to do it. So if people want to show themselves, we'll go ahead and make the Kaddish D'Rabbanan. I'm going to stop the recording and thank people for following along.